That would have to be my jerkbait rod. I mean, it's buried down there, and I rig it up every time we're in a cold weather event, and I will never throw it.
I have a spinning rod and reel with a wacky worm way down in my rod box somewhere, and I hope it still works.
9 out of 10 times, my big swim bait rod is on the bottom and it never gets pulled out. Because somebody always catches it on it, but I never do. So one day I might learn how to throw that big swimmer and catch some on it.
The only reason it's on the bottom is because I don't ever want to go fishing without it, but there is always a 7-foot, 3-inch Carolina rigged rod in my rod box, rigged up and ready to go. That doesn't mean the bottom is its permanent home. It's just that that's usually where it lives.
It would be a St. Croix 7-1 Legend Tournament spinning rod, and it's got an 1/8 ounce shaky head on it. And it's at the bottom because I just hate shaky heads.
Probably the rod that I always have in my boat is Daiwa Tattoo Elite 610 Fighter topwater rod. He uses it for a jerkbait, I use it for a topwater, but it seems like it doesn't matter what time of the season it is. I got a topwater tied on it. It starts at the top, usually ends up at the bottom because I'm probably not throwing it, but it doesn't matter where we are, I got a topwater tied on.
I'd have to say it'd be a drop shot. I mean, I don't leave the dock without it, because I mean, when you get in any situation where you got to slow down, you have to have some kind of finesse. I mean, that right there can catch them from 2 feet to 20 foot. So I never leave the dock without a drop shot.
It would have to be a spinning rod and a shaky head, and that's like the last resort. When all else fails, you pull that out. So that's at the bottom.
Right now, I literally have one spinning rod in my box. I don't plan on throwing it at all this week. And then normally I'm a spinning rod guy. It still has a drop shot tied on from Florida. I'm gonna leave it right there. Just, you gotta have one in the boat.
Well, I have always got, actually, it's funny, this bait in my hand. It's the Stormarashi Glide, and I've got it on the Alpha Angler Wide Glide and a Daiwa Zillion HD down there, shoved in my rod box, because you just never know when you're gonna see that magical tree or that little bluff end where you're like, I think I need to pull out the glide and make about 5 or 6 casts. And so it doesn't matter what time of year, like any situation, it's in there. It's just kind of a confidence thing. It stays in there and keeps me happy.
Well, I got a lot of rods in the boat, so there's several down in the bottom, but I always keep, my RPM 711 heavy duty Okeechobee Special, and it's always got a big giant whopper poplar on it, because you never know when you got to throw that. And the second thing is I always got a big frog on there, so for covering water, and always using Gamba braid, of course, 60-pound line.
It's a Johnny Morris 7-1 spinning rod and reel combo, and it has a shaky head tied on it, and it stays in the bottom. I had not pulled it out yet this year.
I would tell you what, my box, I've always kept an 885. It's, that's 7.4, it's a heavy action rod. And I got several of them tied up in my box that stay in there. I got a frog tied on one, a jig tied on one, a jig on braid tied on one. It's just that go-to rod that you can just get out and just go junk fish with. So I always got a couple of those in the bottom of my rod box.
Probably a jerkbait. I always put the jerkbait rod because it's like a 610, so it's short and it fits down on the bottom nice and neat, and plus the treble hooks stay far away from me grabbing stuff out. So I always know it's there, but it's stuff far away from my fingers.
It would be a jerkbait rod with a jerkbait on it. Just a piece of crap.
Just really love jerkbaits.
Despise, loathe.